Admiral James Anderson stood at the massive window of Earth Defense Command, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass as he watched the alien ship descend through the atmosphere. The metallic vessel gleamed like polished silver, its smooth surface betraying no weapons, but Anderson knew better. After 30 years of watching the skies, he had learned that the most dangerous predators often wore the prettiest masks. "Sir, the Council envoy is requesting immediate landing clearance," reported Lieutenant Rogers from his station. They're being quite insistent." Anderson took a deep breath, straightening his dark blue uniform. "Let them land. Alert the President, and wake up Director Wells. I want intelligence watching every move they make." The alien ship touched down with impossible grace on the landing pad, steam rising from its hull as it cooled. Anderson watched through security feeds as the delegation emerged. Tall, elegant beings with bluish skin and flowing robes that sparkled with embedded technology. Their leader, who called himself High Speaker, walked with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. 20 minutes later, Anderson sat in the main conference room alongside Earth's highest officials as the High Speaker delivered his message. The alien's voice was smooth, almost musical, but his words carried poison. "The Galactic Council has determined that Earth requires protective oversight," the High Speaker announced, his translator converting his complex language into English. "Your species has shown remarkable growth, but you lack the maturity to handle advanced technology safely. Submit to our guidance, and we will ensure your proper development." President Collins, a former military commander herself, kept her face neutral. "And if we decline this generous offer?" The High Speaker's expression didn't change, but the temperature in the room seemed to drop. "Then we will be forced to implement containment protocols. You have 48 Earth hours to submit your response." He placed a small device on the table, a communication link to the Council. After the aliens left, Anderson remained in the conference room with the President and Director Wells, a quiet man whose plain appearance masked one of the sharpest minds in human intelligence. "They're lying," Wells said simply, placing a tablet on the table. "Our deep space probes detected their mining fleet gathering at the edge of the solar system. This isn't about protection. They want our resources." Anderson nodded grimly. "The quantum sensors we planted in their territory confirm it. They've already divided up Earth's mineral rights among their member species. They think we're blind and helpless." President Collins stood up, walking to the window to watch the alien ship depart. "How ready are we?" "Protocol Omega can be activated within 6 hours," Anderson replied. "All defense grids are operational. The fleet is in position, and our agents are embedded throughout Council space. We've been preparing for this day for 30 years. The Council believes we're still struggling with basic spaceflight," Wells added, a rare smile crossing his face. "They have no idea about the quantum network, the AI systems, or the fact that we've had FTL capability for 15 years. Their own security systems have been compromised since they first contacted us." "And our allies?" the President asked. "The Proxima colony is ready," Anderson confirmed. "The underground bases on Mars and Europa are fully operational. If Earth becomes a battlefield, our people will be safe, and our ability to fight back will remain intact." President Collins turned back to face them, her expression hard. "They gave us 48 hours to submit. Let's use that time wisely. Admiral Anderson, begin moving our stealth fleet into position. Director Wells, activate all sleeper agents but tell them to hold position. When we strike back, I want them to feel it across every corner of their precious Council space." "And the official response?" Anderson asked. "We'll play weak and scared," she replied. "Request meetings, ask for clarification, beg for more time. Let them think their intimidation worked. The more confidently they spring their trap, the harder they'll fall when they realize they're the ones who've been trapped." As Anderson left the conference room, he paused to look at the night sky. Somewhere up there, the Council's ships were gathering, their crews probably laughing about how easy this conquest would be. They thought they were dealing with primitive humans who barely understood space travel. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The Council Envoy ship hung in orbit like a shining blade, watching Earth's apparent scramble to respond to their ultimatum. Below, in the underground command center of Earth Defense Force, Admiral Anderson watched their surveillance feed with quiet satisfaction. "Another diplomatic request sent, sir," Lieutenant Rogers reported. "That's the 5th one in 12 hours. We're doing a good job of looking desperate." Anderson nodded, keeping his eyes on the massive display showing thousands of tiny dots moving through space, the Council's invasion fleet, exactly where Earth wanted them. "How's the evacuation going?" "Right on schedule. The public thinks it's just another drill, but we've moved 30% of the surface population to the deep bunkers. The rest will be safe in the underground cities within 10 hours. Director Wells entered the command center, carrying his ever-present tablet. His plain gray suit made him look more like an accountant than the head of Earth's intelligence network. The Council took the bait. They're moving their mining ships closer, thinking we can't detect them. Anderson pressed a button, bringing up a hidden display. Across it, green lights showed hundreds of human stealth ships positioned throughout the solar system. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city, their existence unknown to the Council. "Show me Protocol Omega's status," Anderson ordered. The main screen changed, displaying a complex web of information. 30 years of preparation appeared in glowing lines and numbers. Hidden factories on Mercury's dark side. Underwater bases on Europa. The massive fleet bases inside Mars' hollow moons, all invisible to Council sensors. "Remember when they first contacted us?" Wells asked, a rare smile crossing his face. "They thought they were so clever, hiding their true intentions behind those fancy words about galactic brotherhood." Anderson remembered that day clearly. Earth's leaders had seen through the Council's lies immediately. While pretending to be an easily manipulated primitive species, humanity had launched the greatest secret preparation in history. "Status report from Agent Thompson on the Council homeworld," Wells continued. "Their central AI network has no idea we built backdoors into their systems decades ago. When we give the signal, their entire defense grid will shut down." A young officer rushed in, holding the secure tablet. "Sir, the Council ships are moving into attack formation. They're not waiting for the full 48 hours. Anderson's smile was cold. "Of course not. Greed always makes them impatient." He pressed his comm button. "This is Admiral Anderson to all Earth Defense Forces. Begin Operation Silent Shield." Across Earth, massive hidden doors opened in mountains, deserts, and oceans. Artillery batteries emerged from their camouflaged positions. In orbit, satellites that appeared to be simple communication relays transformed into weapon platforms. "Sir," Rogers called out, "the Council ships are broadcasting their final warning. They're demanding our immediate surrender," and he paused, listening to his earpiece. "They're threatening to make an example of New York City." "Perfect timing," Wells said. "All civilian bunkers in New York are sealed and secure. The buildings they see up there are just holograms now." Anderson walked to the main view screen, watching as the Council ships moved closer to Earth. They had no idea they were flying into the most elaborate trap in human history. "Incoming transmission from the Council flagship," Rogers announced. The screen lit up with the high speaker's face. His confident smile faltered slightly when he saw Anderson's calm expression. "Your time has expired," the alien announced. "Your pitiful attempts at delay have only proven your species' immaturity. Submit now or face the consequences." Anderson looked at his watch, then at Wells, who nodded. Everything was in position. "High speaker," Anderson replied, letting a hint of steel enter his voice. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. We weren't asking for more time because we were afraid." He paused, enjoying the growing confusion on the alien's face. "We were giving you time to reconsider your actions." As the high speaker opened his mouth to respond, Anderson gave the signal. Across Earth's surface, thousands of hidden defense systems powered up. In orbit, Earth's cloaked warships decloaked, surrounding the Council forces. And throughout Council space, human agents prepared to strike. The trap was ready to spring. The High Speaker's face turned a pale shade of blue as he watched Earth's hidden fleet appear around his ships. Where there had been empty space seconds ago, now hundreds of advanced warships hung in perfect formation. Their dark hulls seemed to drink in the starlight, making them look like holes in space itself. "Impossible," he whispered. "Your species barely has space flight capability." Admiral Anderson allowed himself a small smile. "You really should have done better research." He turned to Lieutenant Rogers. "Show them what 30 years of preparation looks like." The quantum defense grid activated. Streams of energy connected Earth's orbital platforms in a glowing web of power. The Council ships found themselves trapped inside a massive energy net. "This is your only warning," Anderson announced to the Council fleet. "Withdraw your ships and abandon your invasion plans, or face the consequences." The High Speaker's shock turned to anger. "You dare threaten the Galactic Council? We have ruled space for 10,000 years. He turned to someone off-screen. "Launch the first wave. Teach these primitives their place." Anderson shook his head. "I was hoping you'd say that." He pressed a button on his command console. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Delta. Show them what humans can really do." The space around Earth erupted in light. Earth's ships moved with impossible speed, their advanced engines letting them dance around the larger Council vessels. The Council's first wave of attackers didn't even get to fire their weapons before they were disabled by precise shots from Earth's fleet. "Sir," Rogers reported, excitement in his voice, "Council ships are completely confused. Their targeting systems can't lock onto our vessels. The stealth technology is working perfectly." In orbit, Captain Linda Morrison led the counterattack from her flagship, Thunderchild. Her ship's quantum cannons cut through the Council's supposedly impenetrable shields like they were paper. "This is Thunderchild to all ships. Remember your training. Hit their engine cores first, weapons second. We want them disabled, not destroyed." The Council fleet tried to regroup, but Earth's ships were everywhere at once. Decades of studying Council technology had revealed every weakness, every blind spot in their defenses. Human ships struck from angles the Council thought impossible, using weapons that shouldn't have existed. In the command center, Director Wells monitored the battle through multiple screens. "Council communications are in chaos. They're trying to call for reinforcements, but our embedded viruses are scrambling their messages." Anderson watched as another group of Council ships went dark, their systems completely shut down by Earth's electronic warfare. Status of civilian protection. "All underground cities sealed and secure," Wells replied. "The Council still thinks they're targeting real population centers, but they're just hitting empty buildings and holograms." The High Speaker's face appeared on the screen again, his composure completely gone. "This is impossible. Your technology. You can't have this level of advancement." "Actually," Anderson replied calmly, "we've had most of this technology for 15 years. We just let you think we were helpless. It's amazing what people will reveal when they think they're talking to primitives." Suddenly, alarms blared across the command center. "Sir," Rogers shouted, "the Council flagship is charging their main weapon. They're targeting Washington, D.C." Anderson didn't even flinch. "Activate the quantum mirror." As the Council flagship fired its most powerful weapon, a massive energy shield appeared above the city. The beam struck the shield and bounced back, hitting the flagship instead. The massive alien vessel's shields collapsed immediately. "You see," Anderson explained to the stunned High Speaker, "we didn't just study your weapons, we improved them. Everything you're seeing today is just the beginning of what humanity can do." The battle continued for another hour, but it was completely one-sided. When it ended, the entire Council invasion fleet had been disabled without a single ship being destroyed. Earth's forces had shown both their power and their mercy. "Send word to all human ships," Anderson ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin transmitting the evidence of the Council's crimes to all alien worlds. He looked at the screen showing the disabled Council fleet. Now they'll learn why you should never underestimate humans. In the space around Earth, the Council's mighty invasion fleet floated powerless, a testament to the price of underestimating humanity. But this was just the beginning of Earth's revenge. Director Wells stood in Earth's command center, watching as thousands of green lights activated across a massive star map. Each light represented a human agent, carefully placed within Council space over the past 3 decades. Now, as the defeated Council fleet drifted powerless around Earth, these hidden weapons were about to strike. All sleeper agents report ready, Lieutenant Rogers announced, awaiting final authorization. Wells nodded to Admiral Anderson, who had just returned from inspecting the captured Council ships. It's time to show them Phase 2. Anderson pressed his palm against the command console's scanner. This is Admiral Anderson. Authorization code: Phoenix Rising. All agents execute Operation Shadowfall. Across Council space, humans who had spent years pretending to be simple traders, mechanics, and low-level workers sprang into action. In the Council's main shipyard, a maintenance worker named John Miller accessed hidden commands in the facility's computers. Within minutes, the shipyard's defensive shields collapsed. "Sir," Rogers called out, "Agent Miller reports the capital shipyards are completely shut down. All new warship construction has been frozen." On the Council's banking world, another agent, posing as a cleaning staff member, activated a virus that had waited dormant in their financial networks for 20 years. The Council's entire economy began to gridlock as hidden programs exposed thousands of illegal transactions. Wells allowed himself a small smile. The Council is learning an important lesson. While they were watching our ships and soldiers, they should have been watching their computer terminals and service workers. Emergency alarms began blaring across Council space. Their leaders discovered that they couldn't communicate with their armies. Their weapons wouldn't power up. Their secret files were being broadcast across public channels. Decades of corrupt dealings and planned invasions of peaceful worlds became public knowledge. "Message from Agent Parker on the Council's main defense station," Rogers reported. "Their entire military command network is compromised. We have complete control of their automated defense systems." Anderson watched as more reports flooded in. Human agents had disabled spaceports, locked down weapons factories, and frozen military supply lines. The mighty Galactic Council, which had thought itself untouchable, was being torn apart from the inside. "Incoming transmission," Rogers announced. "The Council's second speaker is requesting, no, begging, to speak with us." The main screen lit up, showing an alien face filled with fear. "Please," the second speaker said, "you must stop this. The Council will collapse." "That's the idea," Anderson replied calmly. "For too long, you've used your power to bully and exploit other species. Did you think no one would ever fight back?" Wells stepped forward. "We have evidence of your plans to strip mine 57 developing worlds. We know about the species you've enslaved through protection treaties. Everything is being broadcast across galactic channels right now." The second speaker's face went pale. "How? How did you do this?" "Simple," Wells explained. "Every time you sent a delegation to Earth, we let you think you were dealing with primitive humans who barely understood your technology. Your diplomats bragged to their servants about secret plans. Their guards gossiped about military movements. And those servants and maintenance workers you ignored. Many of them were our best operatives. On the star map, more and more Council systems turned red, indicating complete shutdown. Power grids failed. Communication networks went dark. Transportation systems ground to a halt. 3 decades of carefully placed backdoors and hidden programs activated simultaneously. "Sir," Rogers reported with satisfaction, "Agent Thompson confirms the Council's central archive is unlocked. Their entire history of exploitation is now public knowledge." Anderson turned to the second speaker's increasingly panicked face. "Here's what happens next. The Council will surrender control of its military. You will free all worlds under your protection, and you will submit to trial for your crimes against developing species. And if we refuse? The second speaker asked weakly. Then we shut down everything, Wells replied. We've shown you a fraction of what we can do. Your entire civilization runs on compromised computer systems. You've lost this war before it even properly began. As if to emphasize his point, the lights went out in the second speaker's chamber, leaving the alien leader in darkness. Anderson looked at the star map, now showing the Council's civilization in chaos. Send word to our fleet. Prepare to move in and restore order. It's time for humanity to clean up the Council's mess. The Council's grand meeting chamber, once a symbol of galactic power, had descended into chaos. Representatives from 20 different species shouted and argued as reports of Earth's complete control over their systems continued to pour in. From Earth's command center, Admiral Anderson and Director Wells watched the panic unfold through hidden cameras their agents had planted years ago. Another council member is requesting asylum, Lieutenant Rogers reported. The Centauri delegation says they'll provide evidence of more council crimes in exchange for protection. Wells checked his tablet. That's the 6th delegation in the last hour. They're abandoning the council faster than we expected. On the main screen, they watched as the council's first speaker tried desperately to maintain order. His usual elegant robes were wrinkled, his composure completely shattered. We must unite against this human aggression. The first speaker shouted. We have ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. And you've abused that power for just as long, came a new voice. Everyone turned to see Ambassador Reed walking into the council chamber. The human diplomat moved calmly through the chaos, his simple black suit a stark contrast to the alien's elaborate clothing. Impossible, the first speaker sputtered. How did you enter this chamber? The security systems. Your security systems, like everything else, belong to us now, Reed replied. He gestured to the massive screens around the chamber, which suddenly came to life. They showed images of council warships stripped of their weapons, spaceports under human control, and the council's mighty defense stations now operated by Earth forces. Back in the command center, Anderson watched with satisfaction. Show them the evidence, Ambassador. Reed nodded as if hearing Anderson's words. He pressed a small device, and the chamber screens changed again. Now they showed recorded meetings where council leaders planned to enslave developing worlds, secret orders for the destruction of peaceful species, and countless corrupt deals. We have everything, Reed announced to the stunned council members. Every secret meeting, every hidden transaction, every illegal order. Your own computer systems recorded it all. And now everyone knows. The chamber erupted again, but this time with accusations as council members turned on each other. Species that had suffered under council rule for centuries began demanding justice. Sir, Rogers called out, our AI systems report that rebel groups across council space are taking control of their planets. They're using the evidence we provided to overthrow council authority. Wells nodded, just as planned. Sometimes the best way to destroy a corrupt system is to let its own people see the truth. On another screen, they watched as the Proxima colony fleet moved into position around key council worlds. Human ships, no longer hiding their advanced technology, easily maintained peace as the old order collapsed. Message from Captain Morrison. Rogers reported. Thunderchild has secured the Council's main defense station. Their entire military command structure is under our control. Anderson watched as more council delegates approached Ambassador Reed, each offering to cooperate with Earth authorities. The mighty Galactic Council, which had threatened Earth just days ago, was tearing itself apart. Director Wells, Anderson said quietly, send the order to our agents. Begin Phase 3. Across council space, hidden human operators started reactivating vital systems, power, water, transportation, and emergency services. Earth had shut down the Council's civilization without harming a single civilian, and now they would show they could restore it just as easily. In the council chamber, Reed's voice cut through the chaos. Earth does not want to destroy the council. We want to reform it. Those who cooperate, who help us establish a fair and just galactic government, will have a place in the new order. The first speaker, his authority completely broken, slumped in his chair. How? He asked weakly. How did primitives like you defeat us so completely? Reed smiled. Because you made the oldest mistake in history. You judged us by our appearance, not our potential. While you saw primitive humans, we were learning, adapting, and preparing. Every insult, every dismissive comment, every arrogant display of power just taught us more about how to defeat you. As if to emphasize his point, Earth's massive fleet appeared above the council capital, their advanced ships gleaming in the sunlight. The message was clear. The age of council dominance was over, and a new era was about to begin. The Grand Council Hall had been transformed. Where ornate thrones of council leaders once stood, now sat simple chairs. Admiral Anderson stood at the central podium, facing representatives from over 100 alien species. Some were former council members, others were from worlds that had suffered under council rule. The terms of surrender are non-negotiable, Anderson announced, his voice carrying through the massive chamber. Earth will oversee the complete restructuring of galactic governance. Director Wells operated a holographic display, showing evidence of the Council's crimes. Images of stripped worlds, enslaved species, and secret weapons flashed above the gathered aliens. For 10,000 years, Anderson continued, the Council claimed to protect developing civilizations. Instead, you exploited them. That ends today. Lieutenant Rogers, standing at a control panel, began displaying the new laws Earth had prepared. They appeared in multiple alien languages, clear and impossible to misinterpret. First, Anderson declared, all species currently under Council protection are now free. Their resources belong to them alone. The former first speaker, now wearing simple clothes instead of his elaborate robes, tried to protest, but they don't understand how to manage. They understand perfectly well. Anderson cut him off. We found your secret files. You deliberately kept them dependent on Council technology. That technology now belongs to them. Ambassador Reed stepped forward with more documents. Second, all Council members involved in planning invasions or resource theft will face trial. We have names, dates, and recordings of every meeting. The chamber buzzed with nervous whispers. Many former Council leaders looked ready to flee, only to remember that human ships controlled every exit from the planet. Third, Anderson continued, Earth will establish a new galactic defense force. Any species that wishes to join will be welcome, but every member must follow strict rules about protecting developing civilizations. Director Wells activated another display, showing the locations of hidden Council weapon stockpiles that human agents had discovered. We found your secret arsenals, weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Did you really think we would let you keep those? A younger alien representative raised her hand. What about worlds that want to maintain ties with their former Council protectors? Anderson nodded, appreciating the reasonable question. All existing trade agreements will be reviewed. Fair partnerships are welcome. Exploitation is not. The display changed to show Earth's new galactic protection plan. Human ships would patrol trade routes. Advanced AI systems would monitor for signs of exploitation. Every species would have access to a quantum communication network to report concerns. Some of you are wondering why Earth isn't simply taking control, becoming the new Council, Anderson said, looking around the chamber. That's not our way. We want partnership, not dominance. Ambassador Reed stepped forward again. Here's what happens next. Each species will elect new representatives. They will help draft a galactic constitution that protects everyone's rights. Earth will oversee the process, but we won't control it. The former first speaker stood up shakily. And those of us who led the Council. Anderson's expression hardened. Those who ordered invasions, who approved the theft of resources from developing worlds, who voted to attack Earth. They will face justice. We have all the evidence. Every secret meeting, every corrupt deal, every hidden crime. Director Wells displayed one final image. A massive prison facility orbiting a distant star. This is where council leaders who committed crimes against other species will serve their sentences. The trials begin tomorrow. The chamber was silent as the reality of their situation sank in. Earth hadn't just defeated the council militarily. They had completely dismantled their power structure. One last thing, Anderson announced. We know some of you are hoping to wait us out, thinking Earth's control will weaken over time. He smiled grimly. Remember, we spent 30 years preparing to take down the council. We've spent just as long preparing to keep the peace. As if to emphasize his point, more human ships appeared in orbit, their advanced technology a reminder of Earth's power. But unlike the council's shows of force, these ships were there to protect, not threaten. The age of exploitation is over, Anderson declared. Welcome to a new era of galactic cooperation. 5 years after Earth's takeover of the Galactic Council, Admiral Anderson stood on the observation deck of the new Galactic Assembly Station. The massive structure orbited Earth, a symbol of humanity's rise from a primitive species to the guardians of galactic peace. Director Wells joined him, carrying his ever-present tablet. The last of the council trials finished today. Justice has finally been served. Anderson nodded, watching ships from dozens of species dock at the station. How are the developing worlds doing? Thriving, Wells replied, showing him the latest reports. With access to their own resources and fair trade agreements, most have advanced more in 5 years than they did in centuries under council control. The station's main meeting hall was filling up for a special gathering. Representatives from over 200 species had come to celebrate 5 years of the new galactic order. Unlike the old council chamber, this room was designed for equality. Everyone sat at the same level, in the same kind of chairs. Lieutenant Rogers, now promoted to captain, approached them with a smile. Sir, the Proxima Defense Fleet reports all quiet on the outer borders. The trade routes have never been safer. Anderson remembered how the Council had once mocked Earth's primitive ships. Now, human vessels protected peaceful commerce across the galaxy. Their advanced technology, hidden for so long, had become a shield for developing civilizations. Message from Captain Morrison on Thunderchild. Rogers added, the new quantum defense network is complete. No species will ever be able to secretly build up weapons like the Council did. The main hall screens activated, showing images from across the galaxy. New cities rising on once exploited worlds. Former Council slave races building their own spaceships. Young species making their first contact with the galactic community under Earth's protection. Ambassador Reed took the central podium to address the gathered species. 5 years ago, Earth revealed its true power to save the galaxy from exploitation. Today, we celebrate not just our victory, but the success of every free species. Anderson watched as former victims of Council oppression nodded in agreement. Earth's revenge hadn't just been about defeating the Council, it had been about creating something better. The human strategy was brilliant, a young alien diplomat said nearby, not realizing Anderson could hear. They spent 30 years appearing weak while building up incredible strength, but instead of becoming conquerors, they became protectors. Wells checked his tablet one last time. Final report, sir. The last hidden Council weapons cache was found and destroyed. Their ability to threaten peace is completely finished. Anderson smiled as he watched more ships arrive through the station's massive windows. Some belonged to species that had once been Council enemies. Now they worked together, protected by Earth's watchful but fair oversight. You know what the best part is, Anderson said to Wells. The Council thought they were coming to Earth to strip it of resources. Instead, they gave us the greatest resource of all, knowledge of their weaknesses. The gathering turned into a celebration as more good news arrived. New trade agreements between formerly hostile species, successful first contact missions with developing civilizations, scientific breakthroughs achieved through cooperation instead of competition. Reed finished his speech with words that would be remembered for generations. The Council's greatest mistake wasn't underestimating Earth's technology. It was underestimating humanity's capacity for justice. They thought we would seek revenge through destruction. Instead, we achieved it through creation. As the celebration continued, Anderson received one final report. The last former council leader had confessed to their crimes and provided information about hidden operations even Earth hadn't known about. The old order was truly finished. "Sir," Rogers said quietly, "incoming transmission from the Andromeda Galaxy. They're requesting Earth's help in setting up a similar protection system for their developing worlds." Anderson looked out at the peaceful gathering of species that had once been bitter enemies. Earth's victory hadn't just been about military power or advanced technology. It had been about showing the galaxy a better way. "Tell them we'll help," he replied. "After all, that's what humans do best. Protect those who need protection and give hope to those who never had it." As he watched the celebration continue, Anderson knew that humanity had achieved something greater than revenge. They had created a future where no species would ever again be dismissed as primitive, and where justice meant more than just punishment. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate humans, for they might just surprise you by making things better.